Hey everyone, welcome to this impromptu testimonial kind of share with the amazing Liz Shelton. She has, holy smokes, just been on fire, in radiance, in bliss. We've done a lot of inner work together, and she's also come here on retreat to Mount Shasta. And I just wanted to invite you on, Liz, to have a conversation about some of the expansion, the inner freedom that you've been playing with, deep diving into all the things. So maybe we start with the gifts, unlocking your purpose, really owning what you're here to do, all the mysticism, the depth, the psychicness. You guys are talking to a rock star over here. Liz is a freaking rock star. So maybe we get started with like, what made you want to even reach out and work with me? Let's just start there.
Uh, well, I mean, I had seen different videos that you did, and I had signed up for your program earlier on. But then, whenever about healing your inner child, that was, and listen, guys, I mean, that was a game changer for me completely. That's where it all started. Didn't realize, I don't think we realize how much we keep stuff stuffed. And then to release that it's so amazing how that changed. And then from there, I went to the retreats and we had the best time. We went to Mount Shasta, and we got to see the mountain on my birthday. But the and if you get a chance, go have a retreat with Vanessa, because the energy there, the energy at her home is just like no place you've ever been before. I promise you. Um, the but just to keep taking it to the next level, to the next level, and the human design, doing the human design, and then doing the gene keys. The gene keys, I'm working with those guys right now. And oh my, I mean, I couldn't even sleep last night. I mean, I was writing everything out and I was so excited. And I mean, emotional whenever you release. And Vanessa will teach you how to release. And then you utilize it for yourself, and just let all that stuff go, and find your purpose. And that's what I'm doing. And I have found my purpose, and I'm just going towards it. So anyways, I'm so thankful for you. I love you dearly. You're amazing. And yeah, if you get the chance, guys, don't not take it. So
It's been, thank you. And it's been profound to watch Liz going through this transformation. Um, she did start working with me privately and we started deep diving. I don't know if it's okay for me to share. I'm always very careful, with privacy. And in my personal life, I had a lot of issues with my mother. My mother was a hoarder, mental illness. My father was an alcoholic, an artist, an addict. And looking at how these adaptive coping strategies, how they impacted my relationships, really kicked off a profound inner journey to standards and serenity, right? Having the courage to set new standards with ourselves and moving through the fucking chaos of transformation to serenity on the other side. And it began for me with saying no, so that I could no to people, no to, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's so hard sometimes to set these standards for ourselves because it means we're risking losing the comfortable uncomfortable that we got now for something that we've never had before. And thus began my journey into healing trauma and radical self-love, compassion. And so Liz came to start this journey as well. It's very deep in mystical work. You're only gonna get deep with me, folks. And Liz is freaking deep. And what I love about this woman Because she called me yesterday. She was like, "Oh my God, I'm in bliss. I had this psychic dream." Da 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 da. I'm like, what a reflection. Oh my God, Liz, I love you. And so we have these conversations that are out of this freaking world. And what I love about Liz is that she is a self-learner. And I'm really big on empowering my students or clients, soul sisters. I consider my clients soul sisters, you guys. It's not that client is like kind of a sticky word for me. I don't like it. Soul sister, allowing your creative soul to expand and express itself. It actually starts with saying no so that you can say yes to create that space and for a next evolution of you to emerge. And so Liz is a self learner. Like, I'm like, here you go. Here's this process. Let's do it together a couple times. And then she's like, I don't hear from her for a couple of weeks. I'm like, are you alive? Like, how's it going? And she called me up and she's like, oh my God, you won't believe what happened I got a raise at my job and da 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 da. And my relationship with my family members is so different and da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, because she's doing the work on her own. So this healing your inner child meditation, these processes of compassion and self-care, and I call it radical. Let's take a radically honest look inside ourselves. Have enough radical responsibility to say, I'm choosing to do that. Maybe it's unconscious, whether it's beating ourselves up, disapproving of ourselves, saying yes, people pleasing when we mean no, but it's not
Right.
safe to when it's not safe to do that because we've been trained. Okay, we've been trained to receive love and belonging in our families. Those are the building blocks of our relationship. So really unraveling that with kindness, care, grace, and compassion, not with criticism, not with shame, not with hustling or pushing or forcing ourselves to change. It's not that at all. And what I love about Liz is that she'd learn it and then just keep going. So I'm celebrating you, rock star.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for like helping me, for having all of this knowledge and being able to pass it on. I mean, that's huge. You know,
Well, it's one thing to have the wisdom and the tools. It's another thing for people
we're-
to choose to do it, to
yeah.
decide that they. So, do you want to share a little bit about what made you, invest in yourself and
What
and
made
yeah, and decide to do this deep dive inner work and soul expansion and healing and awakening?
just because I mean, I knew, I needed to do it. And I kept saying, when, I kept questioning myself. And then I would feel bad. And then I got this opportunity, you know, and I felt like it was just, yeah. And I think we should invest in ourselves. There's nothing wrong with it, not even for a second, in anything that we choose, especially to help ourselves within ourselves.
Hmm.
So, I
Can you
mean,
can you explain a little more or share a little more? I mean, I'm asking you to be
the
I'm
best.
only if you want to be vulnerable and authentic and real. Like you are being real and authentic and vulnerable. And do you want to share some of the results, how this has impacted you, tangible results, things that you're doing now or ways that you're feeling now that you weren't feeling or behaving or doing or taking action on before? Some of the things that really radically changed for you.
Well, first off, I was very keyed up in the beginning. I'm sure that you remember that, Vanessa, but I'm very calm now. And the awareness is unreal, the clarity and the compassion that I have for myself and the peace that I have. And it's kind of like living in the now. And and if it's not, if somebody calls me and says, do you want to do something? And it's like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Because we have to take care of ourselves because no one else is going to take care of us like we are. and having the compassion for other people, and letting go of the judgment towards whatever somebody else is doing. I've never been much on judging other people, but I still did, and I didn't realize it until I started doing this work. And it's great to let that go and release that. And I've been having dreams which I remember now, and I hadn't ever, I mean, I had little dreams, or a dream that's, would come and go, but never these profound dreams that I'm having. And just answers a lot of questions for me and other people. So, um, and my work, it's good. I'm just kind of, um, I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is the best. I mean, and I just keep expanding, and the stuff keeps coming in, and you keep learning new things, Vanessa, as well. And the videos that you send me to help me expand myself, just do the work. That's the thing, is do the work. You can't get it wrong. We
Yeah.
can't get it wrong. So do apply yourself
And
in your own.
it's thank you. It sounds so almost very simple, presence,
Mhm.
but it is powerful.
Oh, huge. I mean, just huge. And like yesterday, whenever I called, I was just like, "Wah!" And I'm still on top of the world. And
Well,
um,
yeah, because one of your CDs in your gene keys is bliss. It is,
yes.
that's your highest expression. So when we look at these mystical, I call them like new earth technologies, like the gene keys or human design or typology or astrology. These are the four areas that I like to deep dive with people to share, to show them how to know thyself, right? So that then, we own our gifts and our shadows.
Yep.
And when we do that, we start to rise in frequency, and it unlocks, these pathways to prosperity. It opens our heart. We become these attractor fields. Most people, that are struggling, or you said when you started working with me, you were pretty amped up, I think, or was the word, or like not hyped up, but like
And
um
I just couldn't get my thoughts together, didn't know my direction, but knew it, wanted to do something, but and now I'm just calm and clarity.
mhm. And it's this, when we come into ourselves, into our core, into the soul, because the soul will come knocking. It will, and it actually requires a breaking of our, growth feels like breaking sometimes, because it requires like the imagine that we're all eggs, okay? And we're actually we're at the nucleus in the egg, and God is the chef in the kitchen, and who comes and cracks the egg, you know and starts pours the egg into a bowl, and you're like, oh, I get back in the shell, right? The ego is this, like, it wants to hang on to what it knows, so we're to evolve and expand our consciousness, to inhabit more of our soul, can feel like breaking. It is a radical transformation process. And and then, you have no idea that you're being whipped and salted and peppered and, whipped up and transformed into an incredible souffle that wins an award. We are all these, and you can do so many things with an egg. There's just such a versatile, we all have these unique gifts. So doing this work really unlocks that whole process, and to understand that that's what's actually happening. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. You're awakening, you're deepening, and your soul is expanding, and your consciousness is expanding. Life becomes almost like a magic carpet ride. And the entry point into that journey is usually this feeling of either melancholy. It's the shadow frequencies of our gene keys, right? One of mine is psychosis, which is so fascinating, because when I look at that, I was like, wow, all these people say I'm a channel, and I'm like, waiting for some big booming voice or whatever to happen. And the truth is, when I channel it, I would just start talking to myself. And I think, guys, well, I would judge myself. And so when I caught that, these judgments, because to the extent that we judge ourselves is to the extent that we're going to see other people out there judge us, because there's nobody else out there but you. It's God talking, God seeing God, consciousness seeing itself reflected all day long in everything and everyone. And so um, I just would hit record on, and start recording myself in these audios and be like, stop judging yourself, because the stuff that you're sharing with people is these videos, I don't even have to make a lot. I just point you in the right direction. Let me show you who and what you really are here to do. And then it takes over. Love has its own momentum. And we just have to peel, we just have to take the shell of the ego and be like, bye, Felicia. Ha! I'm gonna put you in my garden to water, to nourish my flowers. Don't need that small little safety, and allow the natural unfolding of this evolution of love, of your soul coming online, of this deepening, of this awakening process to happen. And so I'm really grateful, Liz, that you just, leaned all in and
Yeah, it was so
continue
good.
to do the work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, you do have moments where you're just like, oh, you regroup within yourself because all of this stuff is coming up, it's coming out. But listen, when you get it out, you have this moment of just like, well, bliss, pretty much. That's the best way to say it because that, and then it it's done. You're good, off you go. And then you just keep building and you keep building. And like I said, you can't get it wrong. So why not just keep building?
And that's what this confidence, this assuredness is, this core presence, this being okay, this being, because Liz called me up yesterday. She's like, I'm making these videos, I spent YouTube, but da 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 da. I'm like, yeah, Liz, yeah, girl, like, I got my plan. Da, 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 da. I'm like, there she is. She's on fire, feeling fired up and fabulous. And it's going to be different for everyone.
Right.
It's different for everyone, the highest expression, whether we're living in the shadow or the gift or the highest expression. And I got started with this 4 years ago, and I don't really do anything half-assed. I like bring my full ass with me. And I experience it, and then I bring it back to the tribe. Hey, when I'm feeling, confident about this, and I help people build really solid foundations, 4-1, so the tribe, sales, heart in business, and solid foundation, in the self. And I believe there's this radical awakening going on the planet. I mean, some people are saying we're moving from the 3D to the 5D, and some people are, saying, well, because I judged myself for a long time. I was like, am I having a midlife crisis? I was like, let me look into what a midlife crisis really is. If you look into Carl Jung's work on the individuation and maturation of the soul, you can find truths in every different, it's all truth. There's many ways to roam, right? There's many, they all say the same thing. They just say it in a little bit of a different way. And I just discovered that it is very confirming. I'm a seeker. I love to research the truth. And then I'm like, all right, folks, here it is. So you're doing these YouTube videos, you're on this soul expansion journey. Anything else that you want to share with people, or a nugget, wisdom, idea, concept? Uh,
Uh, yeah, just keep doing well, I mean, I'm working on the gene keys and I'm just writing out every definition and every word. I want to understand it I mean, that's just how I roll to the fullest degree. And I want to be able to release because even some of the words that I found that are positive might trigger something, have triggered things in me where it's like, oh, where's this resistance coming from? And then I am saying yes to that and letting it go. So that way then, I mean, so I'm excited to do all of this. I just started on that side of it. And I mean, and it was nice to, go through all what is it, Vanessa, the the shadows, and say yes to them, bring them up, let them, I mean, I literally cried with one of my words and then actually had a bloody nose, which I never get a bloody nose, but and it's not because, I mean, I don't want to scare anyone. It's not like that. It's the idea of my body's talking to me, letting me know, hey, listen, you're good. Now off you go. And I mean, I could literally feel it out the bottom of my feet. And so every time that I released and said yes to these feelings, I knew them whenever they had left my body to that degree because I felt them. I felt the bottom of my feet tingle. It doesn't mean everybody's feet's going to tingle or your hands or your stomach or whatever. It's an individual thing for each person, but it was really neat to me and my body was talking to me, and that's what we have to listen to. And I find that we don't listen to our bodies like we should, even though we're with ourselves all the time. We just go ahead and do something until it really pushes us and makes us go in a different direction. So I don't know. It was really a neat experience. So I'm excited to hear about other people's experience for sure. Whenever they, you know, let those shadows go, say yes to them.
Yeah, I teach a lot of inner breakthrough techniques. I've been doing this work for 15 years, so I got a big, big tool bag. And we have these safety mechanisms. The ego. Ah, Liz, where'd you go? Let's wait for her to come back. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
This is a radical conversation, and we're just going to keep going. Um, because it's so profound when we meet the parts of ourselves that are in this protective mechanism with kindness, care, grace, and compassion and love, with something new. And that's what this new awareness or this new presence or love, tapping into that frequency within ourselves. People say it's outside of ourselves. It's in the money, it's in the house, it's in the relationship out there. It's out there. It's not. People
Mm-mm.
just haven't learned how to source it within themselves. And so then begins all the addictions, codependency, narcissistic, toxic relationships. Sometimes it's with ourselves, but to have compassion for the self, that's really the basis of the work. And it's so transformative from the inside out. Such a blessing to watch people blossom in this. It's a blessing for me that people would trust me with, and they always have. People come to me with these unbelievable stories. No judgment. I'm here with like a flashlight. Let's go hunting, for what's trying to hang on to the eggshell, or, the limiting belief or the trauma or the pain. And I can usually hear it. Um, and that's always the basis of my work, is to watch this blossoming. And it's such a blessing, to help women, because I believe everyone has a story, a purpose. We're all here to do individual, unique things. And usually, people's purpose, or that the big movement that gets launched in their life, comes from that wound, from the pain, from the things that they've learned to overcome. And we can also even look inside the gene keys in human design more specifically for, the brand and the thing that we're here to teach. Actually, that's the next piece that I wanted to share with you today after we finish shooting this video. I got so many things to share with you guys. Um, can you share a little bit about your experience here in Mount Shasta? Because I decided to start doing these kind of deep dive retreats with women where they come for like 5 days and experience what it's like to be in this spiritual vortex and Most people sleep really well here, eat yummy, nourishing food, and hang out on my couch or in front of the fireplace and just like, I want to read all your books. Like, whoa. Or, you know, but tell us a little bit about, what you did here, what it was like, some of the things you experienced, some of your favorite parts.
Oh, going to the waterfall. Good, Glenn reading my on my birthday astrological chart, and the massage was absolutely amazing. But just being in that, you just felt like you were in your own world. Nothing else mattered. It was so calming. Um, and I did sleep really well. And I didn't want to sleep much because I was so excited about, woo, what's next, what's next, what's next. And so, um, but once you get there, you don't want to leave. The energy is just unreal that's there at your home, at, everywhere that we went. So, and to see the mountain and all of nature, you know, that was really, the whole trip was such a blessing to me. And it really changed my perspective on the way that I stopped letting other people, you know, well, no, I was doing myself, saying yes whenever I really wanted to say no. That being there really taught me that because I said, I really wanted to go. I invested in myself to go and be with you and the time. And I mean, it was just so wonderful. And I'm glad that, you took the time to spend with me as well. But then whenever I got back, I was just like, wow, I have to stick to that within myself because it made me, it gave me that compassion that I needed to, really, having that time where there wasn't any other hustle. But I mean, I didn't even get on my phone. I mean, some people I forgot to even thank them for saying happy birthday because I didn't, you know, just to be in the now and for us to do what we felt like, let's just do this or no, let's not do this. It was fine. We were in the now and we had the best time ever.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter to anybody else.
That's what I mean by having the space to
Yes.
actually to not have to worry about work or your normal. I always say it's great
Mhm.
to have a routine, it's great to break a routine. It's great to have a routine, being consistent for like, you got to brush your teeth or your teeth fall out, what I mean? You got to have a shower every day or you start to stink. Like these things, you got to eat good food, you got to work out. I mean, you should show them your guns, Liz, as this woman is on fire. Look at this, man. Look at this.
Oh,
Hey, hey, this woman is ripped.
right.
Okay. She's such an athlete. It's amazing. Um, I had to highlight this. I was
Oh,
like,
thank you.
this woman's the bomb. And we need to sometimes, break out of the routine to give ourselves space, to cultivate this creative space, to nourish ourselves in new ways, and to, yeah, to see what it's like what I'm a sacral generator, so it's life in the moment now. It's my response in the moment now. And it's interesting to meet people. There's no good or bad. That's what I love about all of these different typology and newer technologies. It's like there's no better or worse. It's just what are you, and be that, and to
Yeah.
celebrate people in that in that uniqueness. When I started learning this, I did like a year in a really deep dive human design container, met some phenomenal people and incredible masters in this, and really like, all right, I'm gonna experiment with my whole life with this. It was radical. It was so freaking radical. My life became very peaceful. And then there was a war, there's a real war going on between like how I used to behave and who I am now and how, wow. I mean, that was the holy battle. I made art with it. But um what I took away from that was that these tools really allow you to love people for their uniqueness. Liz, where'd you go? So having the space to invite people into on these retreats here, this has been my home for my own healing journey. And I think I feel like it's just a beautiful space to invite people into to get out of their comfortable every day and see what do they want? What do they need now in this moment? And the retreats are really customizable. I love to I have such an incredible network of amazing healers and I mean online marketing specialists. I've been in this business for 15 years, but I'm a four, so we have a large network and I love to kind of see what people need and then like match them up with a service or do whatever spiritual vortex adventure, waterfall adventure, photo shoot or some
A
people come.
tattoo.
Yeah, Liz got a tattoo.
And the lady came to the house and it was absolutely beautiful. Wasn't it?
I got a tattoo as well, but not on this trip, but you did. So it's such a reflection. I mean, we were
Yeah,
all,
I'm just saying, like anything can happen there. So be ready.
yeah, that's right. Anything can happen when you're in the flow,
Yeah.
in without the judgment or the expectations of other people. I'm so glad that you came and invested in yourself and got on a plane,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and took time out. And it was your birthday too. It was over the holidays. She's like, "What are you doing on the holidays?" I'm like, "Come." She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." We had the best time. It was so fun eating yummy food. And I think one day it was like raining and somebody came over to do a tattoo. You were like, "I gotta like clear this energy leak. We gotta put something else over this old tattoo." And I was like, "Wow. All right, let's make that happen. Let's get that
And it
going."
was so great because she happened to be there because she doesn't even live in Mount Shasta.
Mhm.
So it was meant, everything just fell into place. And I found that whenever I was there, things just flowed. There was no pushing and shoving. It was just a flow. It was a good flow. And if we wanted to take a nap, we just took a nap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all good. There's no like set, everybody up at 8 o'clock, none of that bullshit.
Yeah.
We just enjoyed the moment all the time.
That's how I live. I live a very unique and free life. I haven't had a job. I don't work for anybody else. Like I said, I work for God, but like I I like to share that experience. And I've been leading retreats for many, many years, taking people to Hawaii. And this place, Mount Shasta, is very much in a similar frequency. It's like the light here is like, wow. When the sun comes out, you're just like, wow, freaking wow. And the
It
beauty of
is.
nature. I mean, sometimes I go to the grocery store and I'm like, oh, like crying because it's so freaking beautiful. These mystical mountains. I live in a bowl of mountains, a bowl full of mountains with these huge, ancient, wise trees, these beings. I got those, and I love to invite people into. Well, I'm a Taurus rising, so I'm like, come to my house. It's harmony, beauty, luxury, eating good food. Like come, come, because I don't want to leave my house. It's not that I don't want to leave my house. I do. I do because I need to like I travel to be inspired, but you got to be inspired to be inspiring. But it's so easy. Um, and it's the root chakra of the planet, Mount Shasta. Whoa. And it's very connected to the Hawaiian Islands. There's a lot of people that come between both. Very mystical. People come from all over the world to come to Mount Shasta. And the both places here in Kauai, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna live here. And I did. Boom. And they're very imbued with nature and very mystical. When I travel, sometimes people are like, "Oh my God, you live in Mount Shasta? It's like fairyland." I'm like, I know. Some of the most beautiful waterfalls. Dare I say they are even
Oh,
more beautiful than the ones in Hawaii. And I know my Hawaii friends are going to get real pissed off when I say that, but they are. The water's super clear. You can swim in some of them. I love doing goddess photo shoots with women here. And it's just, there's so many adventures. It's like choose your own adventure. We could go to the lake, we could go to a waterfall, we could go hiking, we could go like, and everywhere you look is beautiful.
That's where all the water comes from too for California.
Yeah, we went
From
to
Mount
the
Shasta,
headwater.
we went there, and it was so neat because people are out there with their jugs getting this fresh water.
Yeah, I don't drink tap water. I haven't for years. It's one of the biggest, looking at your health, like your emotional health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your etheric body, all of these, how do we supercharge our physical bodies? How do we, because we can be physically fit and still emotionally, stuck or operating out of, old programming. And real freedom is this presence, is
Yeah.
this like, I don't have to do anything, be anywhere. You're not being run by fear. It's love that is, it's not work. When you're in that consciousness or that frequency, there, it's like, it's a channel. It's like a freight train of like, oh, I want to do this and this and this and this. And or sometimes it's like Liz said, we're having a nap. Like, for retreats, women are always like, what are we gonna do? Can you give me the layout? I'm like, well, I'd like to do these, like to take you goddesses to these rad vortexes. And don't ask me what day because it depends on the freaking weather. You know what I mean? Like it depends on what we feel like. I'm moving from that space instead of we got to check all these things off the list and we have to do this. It's like just trust that the perfect thing is going to unfold. And you were very open. You were like, oh, I'm just so happy to be here. Like, I'm so grateful that you are in already that space of allowing
Hmm.
because the acceptance is a very, very, very high vibration.
And the
And
goddess cards as well. And they're so amazing. And this is the deal. I mean, we would just do those. I mean, just in the it was so fun. But it's like you said yesterday, they're like little cartoon cards, but the messages, guys, are unbelievable.
okay, so I have this table in my living room that, the living room looks at Mount Shasta. It's like sometimes I just have my computer or I have my coffee and I'm like, I'm recording audios. I'm just like, I ain't going in. I'm in my jammies until like 4 in the afternoon. You're like, I got dressed today. I was like, okay, let's put some clothes on here. But and on my table is like all these spreads of tarot cards. And I have some decks that I've had for like 10 years. One of my clients gave me her deck of, I was like, are you, this is like some powerful juju. She's like, no, it's meant for you. I'm like, oh my God. I've had the most surreal experience with these very, like, it's like occult, the mysticism. Anyways, I go to my hairdresser here and she's like, oh, open up this goddess deck. And I'm like, this is going to be, and she's like, I'm going to go and whatever, do something to your hair extensions. She comes back 20 minutes later. I'm like, listen, man, this little deck of goddess cards that I thought was like namby-pamby freaking for kids is the most profound freaking deck in the world. And so she's like, let me pull some cards. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, I know. So Liz comes over. I'm like, this is what you're getting. You're getting some freaking goddess cards. And yeah, just to sit like we do that. We sit on the couch and like, okay, let's look at your human design. Here's the book. Like, let's go through all the pieces. Um, and just inviting you to tune into your own wisdom,
Hmm.
your own knowing, your own intuitive impulses. Sometimes people come here and we do art, we do creativity. I mean, I've got all kinds of like, and listen, my whole house is an art studio. You want to do photo shoots? You want to do paintings? You know what I mean? You want to garden? What do you want to do? Like you want to make videos? You want to, sometimes people come with their computers and they're like, I want to help. You want your help with this funnel? I was like, let's delete this website. Like people are afraid. They're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, let's open it up and start clicking. Whatever you want to create, whether it's creating the space to be or creating the space to, uncover your gifts. We had some rad conversations around the fireplace that night around your gifts.
Yeah. I get messages, lots of messages from the other side. And even the one, well, I'll tell the story about my dad. So I was sitting there and I was just like, he's passed away. And I was just telling him how thankful I was for all the things that he did in my life and, all the, um, and like said I was sorry for different things. Like I wished I would have went fishing with him, that kind of deal stuff. And so I'm sitting there and I had opened my windows in my hotel room and because it was 40 degrees. I know that's not warm to some people, but it's been so cold here. And so I'm sitting there and I'm still kind of thinking about him and had let it go, all the message that I told him and that I loved him and stuff. And then here this semi blows his air horn. That was a gift from my daddy. And I mean, I instantly started crying. He drove a truck his entire life. And what, that was just so awesome. And so that happens. And then I laid down because I kind of got tired. But then the dream that I had about the deer and then calling Vanessa, telling her the deer, the dads, the everything. I mean, it was so connected. But that's what I find that happens for me. Sometimes I call somebody kind of like you do when you have these dreams or whatever, if it's not specifically about them, but as soon as if I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I got to tell so and so because they'll get me about what's happening, but it's for them. I mean, the
So
gift is for me too, but I mean, it's for them too.
we're
The gift
awakening is a journey where we're all leading each other home.
to, to gift. Yep.
It's
Our
an
souls are so connected.
this individuation journey. I also, like you, judged my own creativity
Hmm.
because I judged my father, who was a famous artist. I come from a long line of famous artists, but he also had addiction and, died with no money and left us a bunch of debt and, oh my gosh, all of this emotional shrapnel. And so I decided long ago that I would make a bunch of money. And I did, I still do, still can do all those things, but arrived at the top of the mountain of success and, multi-million dollar business and was like unfulfilling. And what I really wanted was creative space, what I needed. And the war that waged on inside of me was really around giving myself permission to express myself in different ways. And, it was like, you know, at, and it wasn't possible because I was judging. I had judgments about my father, the artist. So when we can love those, when we become aware of it, it's the first key, and then smear love on that part of ourselves that's just trying to protect ourselves, right? Man, I've been on a creative tear, started another book, did all these funnels, make all these paintings. I mean, it's like, woo, it's like, it's amazing. And the deer, I did a deer mother course here in Mount Shasta with a priestess. And the deer is the symbol of a new feminine leadership. And so Liz calls me with this dream, and I'm like, ooh, this is so good. This is so good. Ah.
Remember,
And
I had hit the two deer before I came
yeah, and in your car.
while you were
I
taking the
know.
class.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. I mean, it's not crazy because
So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I'm just saying, yeah, to tell everybody, I had hit the two deer before I come to stay with you. And then now the deer you were taking the class, you were in the class. And then, I hit him like three, it was like 3 weeks in between to the day.
yeah, there is no separation between what's going on in our inner world and this 3D reflection out here. But, some people call the Maya. Like you have this dream of your dad and you're doing this inner work, and then wah wah, the freaking big horn comes. or, you're stepping into this new form of feminine leadership and you literally hit a deer. I didn't tell you this, but when I dropped you back off at the airport, remember it was like 5 in the morning or something like
Oh,
that.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
listen, it was dark out
Yes.
and these deer jumped in front of my freaking car. I was like, it's the only time I've ever seen deer. And I've
Oh,
driven
wow.
that pass, I don't know how many times from, Medford to Mount Shasta. It's an hour and a half drive, but well, I got better tell Liz. I totally forgot about that until now. So this feminine leadership, and maybe this is the symbol of like, we're on, we're here. So I love that you have as well. The gift when we start awakening to our gifts, and that's why I love about the gene keys in human design is that when you start looking in, you're like, oh, of course this person's attracted to me. Like, look, they have the same thing. This gate, so this key is just in another place. It's really fascinating. Like you get to see it, but from a different perspective and angle. And it's so funny that your phone, turned off a few times during recording this video, and then we get to see you at different angles. It's the same thing, it's
Yes.
the very same thing, you know. Yesterday I was walking in the woods and I'm recording this audio. I was like, enough of the judgment, hit record. This is channeling of some rad shit, some rad inspiration. And I was like, oh, there's the ducks are taking off, and like passing someone on the and as I was talking about acceptance, I'm like, oh, let me say hello, and it was like the reflections that I encountered that were in present moment reflections of our consciousness, which is what we're living now. This is the new consciousness on the planet. And so what do we do when we don't like what we see? I mean, that's boom. Now we get into radical honesty, radical responsibility, radical
Hmm.
self-love. Now we get into some of the inner breakthrough techniques because it's just reflecting parts of us that we're unaware of, And so these are some of the biggest tools that I love to share with people because the awakening, the having the when we end the war within ourselves, there is no more war out here. When we end the struggle in here, there's no more struggle out there. When we take out the judgments or the disappointments or the shadow frequencies, we don't get stuck. We're just like on, present,
Hmm.
aware, awake, and it's radical.
And sometimes you feel like you live a week in one day just because everything is opening up for you.
Yeah. Listen, I've
Yeah.
been on I call these creative tears, and I know it's coming because I get a whole bunch of food in my house, so I don't have to leave. Don't bother me, leave me alone. I'm like, I'm like, wow, that was a dang good day, especially for a generator. Like, we want to go to bed and like be kind of exhausted in a good way. Like we've used all of our faculties, to be so creative, like so good. And it's gonna be different for everybody, whatever your like Liz is bliss and
Hmm.
radiance is vitality is another one for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
But she's got the same gift of you're what are you again? You're a 1-3 in human design.
1, 3. Yes.
You're a 1-3. Okay, yeah. So you are the solid foundation. Ones are deep, man. Deep. We love to share, like we're here to teach and embody the the essence of our experience.
Yeah.
And we're very deep. We know a lot of shit on the things that we're passionate about. Whoa, man. And it's deep. And we build these really solid foundations. We help other people with the solid foundations. And creativity, it's the spark. The one is the creative spark. It's the yang energy. And that's important to know because all these people are like, you need to be more feminine. It's like, no, motherfuckers, I'm a one, man. I'm like the fire. I'm the yang. Freaking
That's right.
blast you out of your fucking socks. When I'm in my core like essence, when I'm
Mhm.
confident, because a lot of ones are until when we're in the shadow frequencies, we're a little bit insecure. So we do all this research. That's what fuels the research.
Hmm.
And the three is well, it's trial and error. It can be, it can really beat itself up for not doing it the right way, but you learn through trial and error, through experience, and there's no failure. And so these are why I love these tools, because we get so conditioned by like the media, the patriarchy, the freaking dude on TV, our families who tell us you should be more like this, the guru out there that says this is the way to be successful. It's like, no, how about you just be you
Right.
and own that? And then you can, it's the ultimate take your power back now.
Yep.
It's the ultimate inner freedom to be like, oh, that person's just projecting whatever their whatever is onto me.
And I mean, we can take little bits and pieces from other places, but still just stay in our true selves.
Mhm.
And, you know, don't you find when you go someplace and you love yourself like we do at this point, that people project that love to us as well? I mean, we're seen in a different light now,
Mhm.
you know, or I feel like that's happening
That's happening.
the time. It happens all the time.
So we're all walking each other home to the truth, to love, to God, consciousness.
Hmm.
And we get to be that reflection of radiance, of joy, of
Hmm.
bliss, of creativity, of our natural strengths. And it's kind of like, in numerology, I'm a 9, so it's like the wise sage, with like the light, the lamp that like, guides people. Um, and that's what we get to be, or we get to be the stressed out, pissed off, hurt, judgmental, disappointed, freaked out, amped up, not connected reflection. And it's what I've realized is that the reverberations of good and bad, and there is no good and there is no bad. Okay, it just is. It's with, we're meaning making machines. The mind loves to fucking, this happened. Oh my God, and make this mean something, about ourselves. But there's no good or bad. There's just a reflection of our own consciousness seeing itself. And it's fast. It happens fast. The other day I was driving down the street. I'm going to radically tell on myself. That's how I teach you guys. I don't have any fancy pants degrees or psych, I'm a one. I research. I must live in the freaking woods and I research and I look inside myself all fucking day long. Okay. I've been doing it for like 4 years. I'm like, Capricorns are like, bye, Felicia. Find me, we're either in the middle of, of a city and we're influencing the city, or we're like off the grid, one or the other. And so I'm driving down the street and I'm having this conversation with myself. I'm getting pissed off at something. So there's a story. This is how we leave the body because we don't want to deal with the feeling. And we enter into the story in our mind. Okay, so I'm on one of these stories in my mind in the car, and I was like living out a story, a fear. So I was afraid about something. I was getting angry. I was getting like frustrated. And this car, somebody I've never seen before. Okay. I don't know this person. Starts flashing their lights at me. It's oncoming at me. Starts flashing their lights and puts their FU finger. It's like in the windshield. I'm like, whoa, in the exact moment. And I was like, whoa, Vanessa, you gotta catch that story, because there ain't no time between. There's no more time in between. It's now. People say, oh, you come to this 3D world because we get to experience a buffer of time with the law of attraction. And, we get to like, imagine if you thought of an elephant and it just showed up in your house. What I'm telling you, the more you, I don't want to sound like some freaking guru because I'm having a human experience just like y'all. Okay. So there ain't no perfect thing about me. I am an imperfect human and having the freaking, the soul having the human experience like everyone else. Okay. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes a lot. I have had a lot of failure in my life. I still fail, and failure is a lesson. Success is a lesson applied. So what? Big deal. Um, but it's like I realize that the instant it's like a fastening, fastening, like you said, it could be like one day in a like a one day feels like a week, like the time, the constructs of time, even for a thought and the experiencing the thing. I think the more we get rid of the resistance or the self judgments or whatever it is, it just speeds up the reflection. And it's not, life is not here to punish you, or it's just going to show you you.
That's right. So who do you want to be? I mean, truly, like that was, I'm sure, whenever that guy flipped you off for a girl, I mean, you were probably like, what? But it was, you recognized it
Oh,
instead of being,
immediately. I was like, that's,
instead of being angry and being like, okay, well, you too, you were like, oh my gosh, I was allowing this to come to me to let me know it was a gift. I
oh,
mean,
well, no,
that's
it all,
how
it's
it's a gift.
like, it's not good or bad, is what I'm
No,
trying
it's
to
not good or
say.
bad. I'm just
It's,
saying it's not a good gift or a bad
it's
gift. But to me,
awareness. It's a,
yes,
it's
yes,
awareness. So
yeah.
to give you another example, yesterday I was coming back from the lake and I was listening to this. I recorded this audio and it's really freaking good. And I was like, wow, so good. I'm gonna put this in one of my courses. Like this is like channeling on fire, man. This is just like some freaking inspirational, hilarious, profound, deep wisdom about the divine and creativity and where it comes from, and channeling, you know, overcoming our own bullshit. Right? It's a vulnerable share. So, and I'm listening to this and I'm driving the car and I drive a white car and I pull up to this. You ever pull up to like a four-way stop and then everyone's like, who goes first? Like, you kind of want to be nice and let that person or whoever go first. Or maybe you're like, I need to go first. I'm here first. Like it depends on what state you're in. Okay. So, but I'm in this very like Zen. I'm like just like I just been walking in the woods for a couple of hours, meeting some rad reflections and like I've been on this creative tear for a couple of days. Like I'm in my element, y'all. This is like, and everyone pulls up, and then I just pause, and I was like, well, first of all, every car and truck. There was a
Was
truck, there was an SUV, there was a car and a car. Everyone was white.
sorry. Yeah. I mean, I just felt like you were going to say that. Sorry.
Every single vehicle was white. Gee, there's nothing outside yourself but yourself, seeing yourself all day long. And it was so radical that I was like, well, anyone can go. Pause. And nobody went. And then I was like, all right, I'll go then. And so I drove, and it was like a moment where it just reset the whole vibe of those four vehicles. It was because I watched in the rearview mirror, everyone was like, you could just feel it. It was awesome. It was fucking awesome to experience like everyone just being like, oh, oh yeah. I know where to go. I know where to be. Like, this is the flow. Here we like, it was incredible. I had the most incredible moment. I was having an incredible time. So this really living our life, our purpose without any distractions or confines or the fear, the most people, a lot of people that I work with are, they're at the point where they've tried a whole bunch of things, and a lot of people have this disappointment. Something happens, we make it mean something, and then it smears our concept of self. And there's the love train. It's gonna honk four times. You see them talk about this, Vanessa. Honk, honk.
That's funny.
No, right? You've been here, so you
Yes,
know
I know.
the love train, isn't it radical? You're like,
Yes.
what were you saying? Oh my God. Oh, it's a sign. And when I first moved here, I was
Comes
so
at
pissed
the right
off at that
time,
train.
though.
I know. This
It
is it.
comes at the right
The
time.
synchronicity. Life becomes so synchronistic and magical. At first, I hated that train. Oh my God. I was like, and now I just, it's like, it's so fun. Ah,
That's so
thank,
awesome.
thank you for having this conversation and holding this space and being this amazing reflection. And
Thanks for
uh,
having me. Oh my goodness.
oh my gosh.
I'm so excited for people, though. I mean, I can't wait to see, what it's done for me. I can't wait to see what it does for other people. And I know everybody's their own unique individual. That's the thing. Your heart, your soul, your inner, outer, everything. I mean, we're so unique. And I think we forget that. And so that's like whenever sometimes I have a hard time talking to people about different things, is because I'm not asking them to conform or to have the same results. It's totally your unique, your individual heart and soul. And oh, wow. I mean, but it's really changed I mean, I'm like, whoa. I mean, I've always been high energy, but now it's like I sleep about 4 hours a night and I'm good to go. And
Mhm.
that's just me as a person. And I've always kind of been like that. And I told Vanessa yesterday, you know what? I used to drink beer and I used to drink beer a lot. And I'm okay with telling anybody that. But the high that I am on now, the fun that I had drinking beer, cannot even touch how I feel now and how I feel about myself and how I feel about other people around me. I mean, in fact, I told Vanessa yesterday, I wish you could get my body just so you could feel how I feel just for minutes yesterday because I was so excited and I still am. I mean, that's the cool part about all this stuff. It brings all of that out. Yes, you have to do the work. Yes, you have to, allow all that stuff to come up. And then, boy, when it comes up and you release it, yeah,
You love it. You
you
love
love it
that
and you
part
become
of
your own
yourself.
unique self.
Yeah.
Your own unique self.
I likened it to being like a laser beam. And we're kind of, when and congratulations on, addiction recovery. Let's talk about drinking
Oh,
alcohol. I don't drink. And, you know, because I like to feel really, really good. Like I don't want anything screwing up my channel of
yeah,
fun.
me neither.
And Liz was like, "This is my brother. Oh my God, this is way more fun than drinking." I was like, "Yeah, it's so good." And I have a story to share with you. So we take our power back now and become this freaking light, like laser beam of love instead of these dim flashlights. Working on
Yeah.
like half power. My first website that I ever had was called Full Power Growth. Anyways, it was like I don't know how many lifetimes ago, but it's this idea of really being all being being in our full essence and awakening evolution. You don't go backwards. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what she's talking about. I was like, yeah, you don't go backwards, which is wonderful. It's like a blossoming, like a flower. So this last story, because I have to share this, it's so relevant. I went on this incredible 35-day journey this summer through Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. I rented my house on Airbnb and I locked my garden because I had all these flowers, garden, whatever. There was so many crazy things that happened. I was on Instagram. I was like, oh God, I wish I would have planted these. What are these called? Zinnias. I'm like, dang it. Next year I'm gonna grow these. These things are gorgeous. I came home. I had a whole garden full of zinnias that was blossoming. I was like, I forgot that's what I planted. And they were full bloom. Okay. And I came home. I have a whole story about this one pass here that there's some funky shit going on. Listen, that pass has tried to kill me so many times. There's something going on there. I've been through it in a snowstorm. I've been driven through some of the most craziest snow, and I'm Canadian, okay, on that pass. Rain, I had to pull my car over. Once my truck died in the middle, I was like, fuck, I was sleeping in the back of my truck. Like craziness. Okay. So now I refuse to drive that pass unless it's like broad freaking daylight. Like it's something is weird over there. I don't know what it is. If there's some kind of something happened there with like the natives, there's something going on over there. Anyways, so I'm dry. So this time I'm like, I'm gonna drive back. It's pouring rain, pouring rain, and I have to pull over for like 2 hours. And I'm like, well, welcome back to California. Thank God it's raining. This is really good. And I get back to my garden and it's raining and it's raining. And I'm like, this is wild. It's like August and it's pouring rain, or July. It's August. And I start doing these little reels in the garden and I look, and inside the zinnias, like they're huge, they're gorgeous. They're like pink and like orange. And it's wow, incredible. And they're huge. And inside each flower is a bee, and they're wet. The bees, and they're hiding out, and they're just like, and so I'm in the garden. It's like 7 in the morning. The first morning I'm back in my garden. I'm like, wow, look at my freaking zucchinis. They're like this big, and like everything's in like, I'm like, holy shit, man. Wow. I'm going in my garden, and these bees, they start to like dry off. And I'm watching them, 7 o'clock, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm just with them, like watching them like come back to life and like dry off in the flowers in my garden. And I'm like, and I got this download. I was like, Vanessa, maybe you're going to start helping people with addiction, helping them dry off like you did, you know. But I used to drink. I don't. There was a brief time in my life where, I got into doing a little tiny little baby bit of mushrooms every day until one came to bite me real hard, and I was like, no, we're not. It was great in the sense of like awakening that fear. I had a lot of fear around allowing myself to be creative in these new channels of expression, like photography and dance and painting. um so that was great for that. And then I was like, we don't need that anymore. I don't need any. Like the most dangerous thing I have in the day is like one coffee. I'm allow one coffee, that's it. you know and I feel so good. Feels so good, so creative. And yeah, it was a really interesting download about and we did not do this work. That was not an intention of yours to like quit drinking beer.
Oh, no, 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 it wasn't. I had decided before, I actually, not long before I started working with you, and that's kind of my personality. I mean, once I really get that, hey, this is what I'm doing mindset, but I was just drinking way too much. I couldn't, the clarity that I have now is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, you don't realize it until it's lifted. And I mean, people can get in the cycle and they don't even realize it until, one day they're just like, holy shit, I drink every day.
And
Yeah. And
it's a coping strategy to numb out and not
it,
feel the pain, when we
it,
can look at it without the judgment, but just have curiosity, like a flashlight, going
yeah.
and looking under the hood and being like, why? Why do I do that? I don't even want to do that. Why am I
Yeah.
doing that? What is it that I'm not really? And most people, they would never, you know, check the box to subscribe to any form of addiction. Okay. It's very unconscious drivers, very unconscious drivers. So when we can look at those parts of ourselves and do something different
Mhm.
and shine, radical kindness, care, compassion, grace. We do something different instead of the automatic, the reaction, the people pleasing, the abandoning self to rescue others, to, receive love and belonging, the coping mechanisms we developed in, our dysfunctional childhoods. I mean, I don't think anybody, even if you didn't have a dysfunctional childhood, like the trauma of being born here in the world is traumatic enough. We're born kind of into this world of duality and suffering, and for like souls here who are these like multi-dimensional, consciousness, it's there's a lot of suffering that we experience here, and pain. And so, to look at it with that light instead of the, criticism or beating ourselves up or, and most people don't have the tools. People say, just love yourself. But yeah, well, how do you do that? I'm going to show you how to do that.
Hmm.
You
For
can
sure.
learn new skills. I had to learn these new skills. It was very humbling for me being like, big baller, multi-million dollar women's empowerment leader. I'm like, trauma? What the fuck is that? We mean trauma. What is this? Trauma? What? Yeah, it was radical. And I'm so grateful. Really, really so grateful. You look at your
Yeah. And
relationships and you see
uh,
them as like this person came to crack that shell.
yeah,
That person over here came to whisk the egg. That person came to help me cook it into a souffle, turn the gas on the stove for me. And we look at our relationships like that instead of the stories that we make around them. Because relationships are really where, the honey, the sweetness of life.
I think so too. And, you know, by me even quitting drinking before we started doing the inner child healing, your inner child, that really within myself made me want to stay on that path even more because what I found whenever we did the work within myself is that's why there were so many things that I didn't realize until I realized them whenever we were doing the work that that's why I stayed in that state of mind. That's why I conformed to that person. Even though, I would talk to myself and be like, oh, why are you doing this? Why don't you quit? I know you can do it. I know you have it within you. But yet, also, part of me didn't want to because it was the medicine for me not dealing with everything. And then, whenever I made that sound decision, and then when I met you, and then for me to stick, I don't know if I'm making any sense about this, but like to truly let that go. And now I have no desire. I mean,
Isn't
I'm
that
around people that,
radical? Isn't that
I mean,
wild? It'd be
I'm
not
around people.
even no interest, like not even think about it. Like
No,
there's no like fighting with yourself.
no,
There's no war there.
no.
That's the thing
And
when you
see, that's
end
what
the
I'm,
war
that,
within yourself.
yes. Yeah. And that's what I was fighting all the time. And dealing, um, deal or working with your inner child. I mean, that's what really, like I said, it put icing on the cake for me to not even want to think about, oh yeah, let's just go do this or do that. No, I it gives you a different perspective, honestly, is what it did for me. And the way that you look at things, the things you look at really change. I don't know who says that quote, but that is so true.
When you change what's inside of you, things change outside of you.
Yeah.
And it's also releasing the shame.
Yep. Because I had to let all that stuff go. What's it gonna do? Beating the hell out of myself every day for something that I did. I can't do anything about what I did 5 minutes ago. I sure can't do anything about, 5 years ago. But whenever we work, do this work, we actually get that out instead of just continually beating yourself up.
Well, real love is the only thing that's real. I got that on my
Oh,
tattooed here.
yeah.
Real love is the only thing that's real. And that's what, allows us to make whole the separation or the war that we
Hmm.
see reflected. So we can project it out there. This person, that person, it's this person's fault. Go and
Right.
project it out there. But when we, radical honesty, radical responsibility, own that projection and do something different with it, we become whole love. And then that gets to be reflected. That's what we see.
Yeah.
It's
It's so amazing though.
mm.
It really is. Oh, and I went roller skating on a different note. I hadn't been roller skating for 20 years, not to change the subject, but that's how I am. And my inner child wanted to go roller skating. So guess what? I've got pink and purple roller skates, and I had the best time on the planet. Didn't run over any little fingers, or I only fell down one time, but I just had to go relax, relax, relax. But it was so great. So,
Yeah,
and that's something else that you find is it brings that out like, okay, let's do this.
it's so humbling. It's
It is.
humbling and beautiful at the same time.
Yep.
I started skiing when I first started doing this work. I was like, I hadn't gone skiing in 8 years, and gardening and art and
Hmm.
horseback riding. And somebody gave me this is a crazy story. So I encourage my clients to like create and, feel, do it. And you're going to feel really, really good about yourself. Like if you're going to work so hard in your business or whatever it is, oftentimes we develop like feelings of resentment or like, "Oh, it's hard. So I have this big bowl of markers. I've got all my art stuff back here. There's like, it's a whole thing. Like the whole house is an art studio, but I got a big bowl of markers upstairs. And when I'm lists of like, check this page on this funnel, like I'm in massive creativity mode, but okay, today we're using this purple. Oh, today it's this nice shade of blue. Like, oh yeah, and like making it fun. That's fun. The colors are fun for me. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, we're gonna wear this outfit. Like, oh, this makes me feel fantastic today. Or like rollerblading or whatever it is that we love to do as children. Go put yourself on top of your priority list. Go do that because you're not smearing. And the same thing about with the topic of money or love. So when we smear this like fun, radiance and energy and exuberance and curiosity on that topic of love and money, then it doesn't have the oppressive, low, dense vibration feelings. Um, and so I often encourage people to, when they're going to make a big jump in their business or growth, to like go and have a shit ton of fun, man. Go give yourself permission to go and live your life this way. There's no one's going to do it for you. And you're also doing sewing, which is really cool. So you
Oh
were showing me
yeah.
this quilt that you did, which was like so beautiful. It's like a work of art.
Thank you. Yeah, and I love to quilt, but being out on the road, uh, didn't have my my sewing machine in my job site trailer, so I just went and bought one, and then just got the yeah. I mean, it was fun, and I miss that. Kind of. The only thing about living in a hotel is not being able to cook.
Yeah,
So,
I
but
remember when before I started, being an entrepreneur in my own company, I sold mops and lint removers for like
mhm.
4 years and I would live in hotels. And that's how my first book came out. And, part of it's really cool, but the other part of it's like, you want your own, yeah, you want your own kind of creativity zone. So I'm happy you bought that. You just created, you said, fuck it, I'm going to buy a sewing machine and
So machine and just
bring it,
sew.
man. Bring it in, man. That's it. So to come to acceptance again of where we're at and what can we do
Yep.
from here? It's a very, very high frequency.
And you're with
And
yourself all the time, so you might
and
as well be happy.
create and creativity. This is the last thing I want to share. You're with yourself all the time, so you may as well be happy. Creativity, this is what I was sharing this yesterday, that it is really the where does it come from if it's not the divine, and what is it here to express? Because I think we're all artists in our life. Some people are artists with raising kids. Some people are artists with making cabinets. Some people are singers. Some people are inspirational people. Everyone tells me you're so inspirational. Some people make quilts. Some people, build houses. They're artists with consciousness. They're jewelry. You know what I mean? We're all, and our life can be an art. Life is we can look at, being an artist in our own lives, how we sit and drink a coffee, how we decorate ourselves. And it to really talk about where wealth comes from. It's sharing that that our creations. It's if I look at my own, trajectory, it's been sharing the story I never wanted to tell about healing from a toxic relationship. And, sat on that story for 5 years, became a best-selling book. Oh my God, people actually read this book? What? Like, I was blown away. I don't want to share that story. I don't want to talk about addiction and emotional abuse and all this other bullshit. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna hang out with my from bankrupt to making $900 a day selling mops safe story. God was like, sweetheart, here's a wake up call. Here's some lemons. Here's a near death experience. I don't want to talk about that. And that's what launched this movement. And so it's these like that's what, oh, there's the book, and then, so our creativity is really this kind of cracking open of prosperity. And we're all artists in these beautiful, unique ways. We all have stories to share. We can be that light for other people when we're not living in the shame or the regret or disappointment of the past, right? When we're not afraid of the future or afraid of that happening again, when we take our power back now and we learn how to turn on, this storehouse of love within us that just does its own thing, does its own like a flower. These zinnias, man, that came out of a freaking seed. Wow. Had no idea. I forgot. I just like decided this summer, I was like, I'm gonna plant all my dang seeds. Get them out. That's enough. I'm gonna screw planting vegetable. I'm gonna plant just what I love, flowers, right? And every seed has in it this potential of this incredible, beautiful thing. My God. Stunning. And some of them are these delicate, some of them, I grew this, I call it the wise sage wisdom. I had a white one and a purple one this summer. And the delphinium, huge. The blooming stalk is like 4 feet. People would just pull up in the driveway, they're like, what is that in your garden? I'm like, it's the white sage wisdom, man. It was huge. And then a purple one came out in the fall. And this is in October. And like, wait a second. These flowers are supposed to bloom in the spring, dude. And I had a bearded iris, this purple bearded iris that bloomed in the fall. And it's like kind of like that, like women or consciousness kind of blooms in its own season. And not even judge that, you know, like we bloom when it's time. And it's unique and beautiful. That's why I cut all my flowers when it was gonna frost. So I was like, cut them, brought them inside. My friend came over. She's like, what the heck is going on here? I'm like, these are from my garden. She's like, oh my God, in October. I'm like, ah. So we're all like that. We're all these incredible, we all have this seed of, growing into something. That's what a process of transformation, a seed to this, like, you know. I'm so sorry. The phone is dinging. We're not going to answer it. We're going to stay here. And I just want to thank you again for tuning in. This is like the longest conversation ever. We just actually started this to have a quick little testimonial video, and I'm so happy that it continued to this like sharing.
It was great. Thank you so much. Thank you
Oh,
for everything. All
thank
this
you.
knowledge, I mean, yeah, experiences that you've had, knowledge you've gained, and be willing to, I mean, put yourself out there too. You're vulnerable to learn all these new things and teach us. That's the cool part about it is,
Yeah, that's been my journey, radical intimacy with self,
mhm.
radical, radical self-love, radical honesty, radical integrity, radical self-love. I built my whole company on that tenet. It's one of the processes I've been teaching for years. And I finally put these into little mini courses for people to get, on my website without having to go and, invest thousands of dollars into mastermind programs because before that's the only way people had have access to it. So that feels really, really good. And it's, when we can be authentic, when we can be really, it means that we don't need, I don't need your approval of me. That confidence speaks volumes. And it's like it's irresistible. It's magnetic. It's love in action.
Yeah.
But it requires that we first, you know, put that onto ourselves. And, as when I went through my divorce and another breakup after that, I was like, I ain't, you set some new standards because you want more intimacy and depth and connection in your relationships, and it starts with yourself. And I had to start risking sharing my truth, and it was freaking scary. And that's how we make the decision to either continue being safe and small, or risking to share our truth with people and letting them show up for us
Yep.
or not. And if people can't or won't, well, then that's another next radical self-love, is like, okay, I accept them for where they're at, and I choose to love myself, that I'm not going to entertain this. I know where they're at. Okay, that person's there, no good, no bad. And also the reflection of, well, where is it inside yourself that you can't or you won't, Vanessa? I mean, it's all a reflection.
Yep. So true. Always a reflection. But we're always right where we need to be. I actually love doing what I do, even though, I mean, home is where you make it. I mean, and home is within me, and that's what I found. So it doesn't matter which hotel room I'm in, where, you know, if I'm back in Missouri or if I'm wherever I am in the world, home is where I make it because it's all within me.
Self, the soul.
Yep, love and being with yourself. Yeah, my boss asked me if I was bored, and I was like, "No, man, I'm with myself all the time. Holy shit, wouldn't you be? You wouldn't be bored if you were with me all the time." He's like, "Nope." I'm like, "See how much fun that is."
Is priceless.
It is. It really is. And it's really priceless it just keeps coming together. Just keeps coming together. So I'm so excited for everybody.
Me too.
Yeah.
Grand awakening, grand
Yeah.
rising.
It
Honestly.
really is.
Thank you, Liz, for
Thank
taking the
you.
time to have this conversation. Thank you for tuning in. I'll drop some fun links here below if you want to dive into more fun conversations and for more. Thank you.
Thank you.